Greetings, I'm Liz.
And I'm Scandal.
And let's grow a garden together.
I keep wanting to say something else. It's fine.
What do you want to say, my friend?
Let's play a game together. Let's have a great time together. It's fine.
Let's grow some flowers together. Let's solve Regina's problems together.
I mean, sometimes it does take multiple minds. Actually, I've always really strongly disliked that thing. So I grew up very strongly in a house that was like, you just don't really go to other people with your problems. And if you went also to, unfortunately, to other people, and I say unfortunately in this case because they were like the only people you're allowed to go to are religious figures that don't have any training at all.
As counselors and support individuals.
So it was very frustrating.
All right, so this box bothers me here, like here.
It's
on
right
top of the other flowers. Pip!
Lame.
We just missed.
We did.
It's fine, we missed.
No.
Anyway, so we are nearing the end of our Easter special, and we're excited to see you guys. Here we go.
Yes!
So I spent most of the last episode talking to myself, and I'm hoping that my good friend Scandal gets to talk to themselves most of this episode.
Oh, it looks like it.
Here it is. See, we did that just right.
Hey, my dear, there you are. What are you building?
Looks like a birdhouse.
Birdhouse, obviously. Couldn't hammer your heads together, so I found something more productive. I'm sorry about earlier, Regina. I know how important that table was to you. And Otis. Oh, so he's Otis again. Not that old weasel, that geezer sneezer. Geezer sneezer has a certain ring to it. But yes, we've called a truce for now.
Because we're tired of treating you crappy because we're grumpy at each other.
No kidding. You know, Gramps, all I wanted was for us to have a nice party. Like we used to. Like Beth wanted.
And all you did was just the whole time grumble about how you were better friends with her. Who is this little guy with the rabbit anyway?
I don't know.
We have not known who that is the entire time.
At all. They're just there, not even spoken about. It's fine. Look, you remember this? One of my favorite parties. We were all so happy. I just hoped... Well, I hoped you two dummies would realize that Beth left you this old place so you wouldn't drift apart.
Yeah.
You're right. Have I told you lately that you have quite a brain on you? Wise beyond your years, but that is no excuse.
Nonetheless.
Yay! There we go. But also, again, you should not be playing caretaker. People will be like, no, but see, look what all this did for you. You became strong because of it. No, I became strong in spite of it.
Yes.
I became strong to survive.
I became strong. Rather, my strength came out in this specific way because it was necessary. And I could have used it on other things if I didn't have to put all my energy here.
Thanks.
Thanks. All right.
I'd say it runs in the family, but that depends on if you keep fighting with your friend. Your only friend, Gramps.
Yeah.
Losing Beth should have made you both realize how time is short. Gotta keep your loved ones close, not fight them.
Yeah. That's a good point. Honestly, the thing is grief and change can tear a lot of people apart. It can cause a lot of troubles and issues and make relationships very strained. But it's important to call back to what you want and what your values are, and then look at that grief from that perspective.
It's also true. And there's also another thing that I will say as well, is sometimes grief in that way, and I hate to put it like this because I've just had my uncle die, but sometimes you can also have grief you need to realize will also be used to hurt you. Of going like, but we just need to be together. It's just this thing. And you're going like, but we don't know each other. And that's okay too, to be like, I can still grieve, but I do not need to be around people who abuse me.
Sometimes extended family will use a tragic family event to try and force their way back into people's lives who aren't who they hurt or who have broken off their connections for a reason, or simply because they're trying to reach out and then the other person doesn't have space for them in their lives, and then they try and levy that card of, but there's this sad thing that has happened and we need to support each other, and you don't have to. If it is within your means and you're comfortable doing so, or you feel that connection, absolutely. But people should not be able to play the grief card to demand support from you.
No kidding.
All right?
Mind if I keep this photograph? I think it's time to bury the hatchet. And I have an idea about how to go about it. Well,
you know where the hatchet is, my dude?
Sure, as long as you don't bury it in Otis's head.
Yeah.
I got enough messes to clean up as it is. And do you know how long that paperwork takes, by the way? Oh my God, I have seen all the shows. I clearly know.
I know. Amazing. All right, here we go.
Habitat for Birdmanity.
Wow, that's adorable.
That's hilarious.
That's very charming.
Which is a pun.
Why were you petting the ground beneath the birdhouse to then get the roof on?
She's learned the ways of Lily.
She's starting to learn Lily's magic. It's great.
What do you think, Gramps? Is this a great birdhouse or what? Excellent work, dear. You've got one heck of an eye for detail.
I mean, it's pretty simple, really, so...
Got an eye for trouble, too, and I'm thinking yours and Otis's is about to be a thing of the past.
I hope. If you two can be mature for 5 minutes.
Why are you guys being really redundant about this? I'm like, you just said you were going to do it, now you're going, and now we're going to do it, and now we're going to do it.
Yeah.
So I've noticed this sometimes in some games where they're like, just in case you forgot, we're going to do it, and then they drag it out longer, and then they sort of have to rehash like you forgot in the last 2 minutes.
Or last 10 seconds. And I think some of this is essentially the assumption that it takes time to earn eggs or earn your story currency between scenes.
Right.
And so it's kind of since you cannot go back and see the scenes again in this particular game, where you can in some, that they're trying to make sure, even if it took you a long time to pass some of those levels, which I will say the later levels of the 100 were pretty hard. And if you haven't seen our other episodes, there's 100 levels in the Easter special.
Right.
And the last ones, they got pretty challenging. Like there was a spate of ones that were kind of hard and then it got easy again, but like the last 10 levels, they were really tough.
Right.
Anyway, so
I heard you complaining, and you were just like, I cannot get by this level.
I whined about it a little bit. Anyway, so I would tend to say that that's probably what that convention is, but it does bother me as well. Like, if you remember what happened, having a reminder immediately, or if you're like me and you save stuff up and then spend it all at once so you can enjoy the story in one big stretch,
right?
Then, yeah, I think it feels a bit redundant.
There's also, again, that trouble of going like, well, what do you pick to do? And I understand that from a gameplay perspective of being like, but we don't want you to have to download all this, but it's also like, I feel like if you wanted to go back and go look, you could just make it easier on yourself, so you could write more of a story where you're not calling back constantly of being like, here's a link, and then when you tap on the link, or in the game itself, here's a little, section of the game you can go into where you have to download those sections, but you can go through the story again, kind of thing.
Like, it'd be cool to be able to go back and see it again if you wanted a refresher, if you wanted to do some literary analysis, even if you just wanted to do something like fan art and have a reference.
Right?
But in this case, I am frustrated, as my friend Scandal here has mentioned, that they're resolving this, quote, so quickly, that basically all it took was bringing Regina to tears and absolute finalized disappointment of I quit. And then they're like, oh, well, now that it's the last straw and we've actually deeply hurt someone else, then we'll change our ways. Right. You cannot learn before you actually truly hurt someone else. And she's taken it really well for that, honestly. She's really just like, all right, so you're doing it. But she really did. She's like, you broke the first carpentry project I ever did in my life. That also was one of my primary memories of this property, which belonged to Beth, who is dead. And you're not acknowledging my grief because I lost her too.
Which is also another thing that I'm kind of having troubles with this, is because this seems to be mostly about Otis and Philip. Mm-hmm. And that bothers me because clearly Regina's been hurt a lot too. And it's like, but we're not discussing Regina's grief. We're discussing only Otis and Phil. Again, and I'm saying only Otis and Phil. I'm not saying their grief isn't valid. I'm talking about for the most part, drop kicked Regina off the end and been like, you're now caretaker.
In the same way that when we talked about Lily's aunt dying back at the beginning, and then we learned that Philip was involved with her.
Right.
And if you haven't seen the main story, I apologize, spoilers, but you can go watch our series if you want to, the main series.
We've totally all got it.
We've got it anyways. That he lost a partner, and Lily never acknowledges his loss at all, nor is it discussed. And I get that they're probably not trying to bring him in immediately as a character, and that she is traumatized, but it feels like this experience of almost it not being written into him, his grief at all.
Right.
Of losing the second love of his life based on his own description.
Right, which is very touching. Honestly, it was a very
cute story.
Good, but it was also incredibly frustrating on a level of going, we're just not going to talk about this. And I'm like, I understand not every character, because like every person, not everybody talks about or discusses their grief in the same way. But this, to me, is like, you guys are clearly grieving and throwing a tantrum.
And if you're going to do an entire Easter special arc about how he, and also his best friend who we hadn't met previously, expressed grief, you would think when he shared the story with Regina in the boat in the primary arc, that he would have been like, I really miss her.
Right?
That there would have been some nod to the fact that he also had lost her.
Right?
Anyway.
This doesn't feel very coherent. I don't know.
Cohesive?
Cohesive? Yes.
Cohesive. It feels reasonably coherent, just not very cohesive. All right.
No.
Here we go.
Astute, as always. I'm ready to make my peace. We old folk needn't waste any more time being stubborn. Also, I am personally annoyed because, do you know how many it took for Lily and Otis?
I'll say, he seems like he came to that conclusion way faster. On the other hand, they could be arguing that basically he is more connected to Regina, so he felt it a lot deeper, and he came to those realizations on his own because I did this to my granddaughter.
Maybe?
I need to man up. And I use the term man up loosely, forgive that. I need to be more mature.
Right.
You know?
Manning up, so the way that I believe my friend lies here, what she's trying to say is that manning up is being used in the sense of going, like, actually taking responsibility.
Yes.
Because you can say the same thing of, you gotta woman up, you gotta person up, basically. You gotta actually stand up and go, I'm a part of this.
Yes. You gotta pull up your breeches and take care of yourself for a minute, and also recognize other people's feelings and experiences. And the fact that you basically had two mature, you know, great-grandfather-aged individuals treating a granddaughter figure, because she was clearly around, she's in the picture,
right,
as essentially a therapist, and 2, a mediator, and 3, as if her feelings didn't matter.
Yeah, it's kind of
that was kind of frustrating to me. Anyway.
Born time being stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
That's the wisest thing you've ever said, Gramps. Because I'm really annoyed with you still. Yes, well, without you, I think I would have kept myself stuck in the mud indefinitely. Aw, I like the fact they actually say I love you.
He does, that's very sweet.
So I have expressed oftentimes, and in relation to books or movies or whatever it is, people do not say I love you
very
enough.
often. And they don't say it
and they go,
hardly.
no, but my physical actions are everything. You're like, you should say it, in my opinion, because again, that thing of playing guesswork with people, guessing at their intentions, guessing what they're doing is not a good way, in my opinion, to build a healthy, communicative, stable, equal partnership or relationship.
Because you're basically working on this premise that you understand that you're both coming from the same place, and you really may not be.
Yeah.
Even Scandal and I, as we've been friends for a good 6 years or so now.
Oh God, it's been longer than that, my friend.
I said or so. I say at least 6 years.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's been this experience of going, sometimes we run into a place even now where it's like, I was doing fill in the blank A because I thought we were at the understanding of fill in the blank B. And my friend's going, no. And we will go over and be like, we had this whole conversation and both of us had different weights of understanding in it. And it finally like comes out when we hit basically a point where those different understandings really matter.
Right.
And sometimes it's something really small, but it's really important to go, these things actually do. And sometimes you run into those with people who are working with guess culture, where I guess what you're feeling and I assume it. And then they run into a place where suddenly they turn into a different person. And it's like, actually, that's the premise they've been working from the whole point.
Time, yeah.
It's only just now that they've reached some place where it diverges from what your assumption, from what fits with your assumption.
Right, exactly. It's actually a thing that came up in our work culture a lot too, where people are going off based off of this assumption of going like, because they didn't have all the information, and people just said, well, it's not rocket science. And it's not rocket science, it's completely obvious. And then they get pissed. And then they will always get angry going, why did nobody figure this out? And you're like, because there are 30 ways to interpret what you said. Well, it's not rocket science.
So when I was a manager, because that's what I was, and a team lead, one of my primary things that I wanted my team to have was knowledge. So when we did our morning huddles, before we went out onto the production floor, one of the first things I did was tell them about any changes and their daily expectations, and also basically if any of the SOPs had been updated or anything like that, in as quick and precise a terms as possible as related to their individual jobs. Like if there'd been a big change, or if there was something going to happen, like the managers were going to, you know, like the supervisors were going to walk the floor, we were going to have any visitors, there was going to be any kind of like an event or special notation, we were going to have any like recipe changes during the day, I'd let them know right then so that we could plan, and then I could talk to them individually afterwards if they needed to do anything spectacular beyond that. But training was one of the first things I focused on, so that if anyone came to them and went, why did you do this? They could have a clear, clean answer of why, and so, and what their basis was in the standards of the company, rather than simply going, well, because, or that's what we do.
Yeah.
And it was really important for me, for my team to feel confident in what they were doing and that they knew what they were doing, so their questions were asked. But that was my personal priorities.
Right.
Anyway, I think it would have been really cool if here they had had a pause and done 2 basically word bubbles for the I love you, Regina, to be on the second word bubble.
Yeah.
I think that would have been more like put in a more deliberate pause weight of, you know, stuck in the mud indefinitely. And then you tap, I love you, Regina.
Yep, the kind of...
Yeah, and then you go to the next bubble, so.
Aw, I love you too. But don't get all sappy on me now. Can't be over here blubbering while I'm hammering.
No hammer blubbering. Oh no, it's a bird, instantly.
Hey, already, like the swans. Anyway, I'm fine. Hey, look, I think we got a new tenant already. What's tweeting, little pal?
Nah, she has been learning from Lily. Instantly, you summon the expectation.
Look, we found Twitter. Beautiful, just beautiful. It inspires one to tickle the ivories and compose a tune. Are you a piano player? That'd be fantastic.
That would be great.
Talk first, Mr. Piano Man. Plenty of time for that at the party, after you and Otis are done olive branching.
So she hasn't even, okay, so I would like her to actually state there that she's going, all right,
That was so
since
short.
you're willing to do, since you've come to me, one, mostly apologized, two, admitted that you should be doing better. Like, he didn't go into great detail anywhere, but, and then said you're willing / want to make up, then I should acknowledge going, I was ready to quit, but I'm okay to go back to it now. Rather than just being like, all right, now it's still on. As if you didn't ever call it off.
Also, again, part of the thing that I'm having too is going like, I feel like both Philip and Otis should directly apologize to Regina and talk with her about her experience rather than this, again, just being about Philip and just being about Otis.
What I do like here that I think is funny though is they both came from the wrong direction.
Yes, they did! Oh my god, it's so bad!
What we've got is we've got Lily and Otis walking around the back of the house to go try and meet them, and then walking around the front of the house to try and go meet them, and then they have to turn around once they get over to where the birdhouse is and the garden is respectively, and come meet each other back in the middle. Like, that is what I see for this.
That's it, like,
Hey, Regina! There you are! Everything okay? Is the party, she should say back on, I think. But just because I would like the acknowledgement that Regina got so fed up that she's like, look, I'm not doing this. Should not be expected of one person to handle all of this.
Right.
And this is abuse of me, even if you're being assholes to each other.
Right.
Party back on?
I think so, but maybe these two have something to say to each other first.
Yep. He just walks right past it. Bye! Peace! Oh, okay, there we go.
Otis,
sorry. Me too. Don't know why I've been acting such a fool. Guess I'm stuck in my ways.
I would like to know, though, what broke this so hard? Like, really, what is it about Beth's death? And this is just my curiosity of going, like, what would drive you to basically be like, I'm now going to be angry or upset, other than just going, you're not honoring this person enough or in the correct way or in the proper way or whatever it was.
It feels weird that they both fixated on, I'm going to have been her better friend and you're wrong and I'm right. That feels like there should be some grounding for that very specific kind of behavior.
Right.
And that's what tore them apart. How did that were you ever in a friend competition before, trying to be the best of the two friends? Were you ever, like, did you snipe at each other all the time about it, if I know her better than you? Like, was this some old argument that, just grew into something bigger?
Right, and then once Beth was gone, you basically use it as ammo, more or less. You weaponized your friend's death to attack each other, which would be interesting and happens. And like I've said before, character development does not always have to be positive at all.
But it would be interesting. It would be charming to have more connection to it, especially since at this point, we spent like 3 hours on the story.
Right.
Plus all the gameplay kind of thing.
Right. I'm even older than you are, so if that's the case, consider me doubly charged.
Doubly charged. Well, here. I found something I want you to have. It's a reminder, of the good times and how, you know what I mean. You're the one with the words.
Thank you, Otis, and I want you to have this. Put it by the phone so that if you're finding yourself feeling lonely,
you can call me.
Aww.
How come he doesn't ask him why he never called?
I know, I'm like, what?
Thank you, Phil. It means a lot to me. And, well, dang it. Dirt in my eye.
So there's also another thing here too. While I definitely appreciate the sort of what I will call masculine vulnerability here.
Yes.
But there's also a level of, I wish it would go a little further, but that's me, of being like, I understand sometimes, particularly with people who are like, well, I'm the older generation. I'm like, I feel like that's also an excuse past a point.
To be like, I can't cry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like it, honestly, if there was even just a brief nod, in the way that I've talked about, like, summary storytelling conventions, where even if you, the reader, don't get brought in on everything, it sort of gives you a wrap-up so it's clear that the characters were in on everything.
Right.
Where if one of them even just said something simple like, I know we fought so hard that we never talked after the funeral.
Right.
Kind of thing. But, it would have been nice if you called me, but I'm sorry I never called you. Or, but one of us could have made the move after, but it shouldn't have taken this long for one of us to make the first step.
Right.
Like, it would have been cool if we then had, like, a time marker for when they stopped talking to each other at all.
Right.
Anyway, I feel like that, as me as a reader, that would bring me in a little bit more and connect me a little bit better.
All
right, dirt in my eye.
Blasted allergies. Something in the air.
Must be all those flowers those girls planted.
Am I seeing things, Lils? Are they actually getting along?
Shh, we're missing the good part. Got any popcorn? Just sits here, eats popcorn. Ah, yes. men being genuinely mature. It's so good.
It's amazing.
It's beautiful. Support them. Have more of that.
Yes,
Let's do
wait,
it.
this is our popcorn. This is fantastic.
Got
Men
it,
in
yay.
supportive relationships with each other. That's
And
fantastic.
good balanced friendships. Go
Absolutely.
is a go.
All right.
Moving day.
Aye.
Reward.
You mean a reward?
You mean a reward?
A reward.
Unlimited rainbows. Oh, that would be such a pain to play with. Oh my gosh.
Ah, we're gonna do it. Moving.
Okay,
My move day.
so this might be a tiny bit longer episode, but we are gonna get through this. The sleeping bunnies, they just look
They're all
so...
dead.
They look like catnip overwhelm kind of thing, like they're
Well, I mean,
passed
we can
out
always
from being...
come back. If you really want to pause here, we can pause here. We can have a cliffhanger.
Oh no! It's a cliffhanger.
Oh, we've never done that before. Okay, guys, so since you're having so much fun with us today, we appreciate y'all being here and enjoying and spending your time with us because we understand this is very stressful right now, and we wish to contribute.
And being indoors during the corona quarantine without being able to get out and do your
Blueberry's ears are phased through.
It's fine.
I'm fine. It's okay.
Fine.
We're all fine. All right.
Anyways, without your traditional Easter holiday activities, we will have, like, all of these episodes are going up today. The last one will be up shortly. And we've loved spending this time with you. And yeah, if you want to like, comment, subscribe, share this with your friends, or if you just want to be like, hey, I appreciate this, or here's my thoughts too, because we have opinions. We are happy to hear yours.
Yes, absolutely. And if you want to support us actually even more directly, please feel free to go check out our Ko-Fi and our Patreon. We got links down below. And other than that, I have been Scandal.
And I have been Lies.
And it was great playing with you.
Bye!